We've come to the end of the road of Auburn's October road stretch. Can the Tigers get a win versus Kentucky on the last Saturday of October? It's time for the Midweek Report. This episode of the Midweek Report is brought to you by our friends at the Rage Room. They've got two convenient locations for you guys. First in Opelika at the Opelika Rage Room, 1510 2nd Avenue, Opelika, Alabama. If you need to break something, and Auburn fans have a lot of reasons to break stuff these days, head on over to the Opelika Rage Room. Or if you're in Birmingham and you want to break something, head over to 2616 7th Ave South in Birmingham, Alabama. They've got you covered. They actually have axe throwing up there. So you can get another kind of rage out up there in Birmingham. We appreciate our members as always. So if you want to help keep the work that we're doing at the War Report going, you can hit that join button and become a member of the Green Name Gang. $5.99 a month will get you there. If you've seen Office Hours or any of the film reviews that Ike is doing for you guys, that's member-only content as well as game day. At halftime, we have a whole powwow about what's going on the field. So hit that join button so you can become a member of the Green Name Gang. You can also give a green name to somebody who has not made a decision yet by hitting that gifted membership button. We appreciate our friends for doing that. Not a lot of joy on the plains on the football field, but Joy Mode can bring you a different kind of joy if you visit tryjoymode.com. Let's call out the obvious. Everyone wants to head into the bedroom with confidence, feeling like the best version of themselves. But the problem is sometimes the intrusive thoughts get in the way of our performance. Or maybe we feel like we're not reaching our full potential. What are our options? Pick a sketchy gas station pill or get a prescribed drug with a long list of side effects. That's where our friends at Joy Mode come in. Imagine a supplement you can take like your favorite greens pack that gives you that little extra dose of confidence and saves you the embarrassment and hassle of a traditional erection pill. Visit tryjoymode.com and use code REPORT to get 20% off plus free shipping. That's tryjoymode.com to get 20% off plus free shipping. Make sure you use that code so they know the War Report sent you. Let me bring the fellas in here. Guys, it's Wednesday. And Auburn has a game this weekend. It is the last of a very tough road stretch. Joining us today, as always, is our guy Ike Jones. Darrell Dapprich is joining us today to get in on the picks. And Dylan Lark, your boy, the Tank. Guys, how are we feeling? Darrell, start with you, man. You haven't joined us in a while. What's going on over there, man? How you feeling?
I'm glad to be here. I've been wanting to do this for a while, collaborate with you guys. It's going to be fun hanging out with you. So I'm just, like they say, that the when they ask you on an interview, just happy to be here, man.
Ike has been busy in the film room. I saw a comment on our YouTube channel, and they're like, man, I know how joyless these film reviews have to be at this point, just trying to get through it here. But we're gonna jump right in and get into some picks, fellas. It is time to pick games. This is not our favorite thing that we have to do, but we have to do it. First game is Arkansas versus Mississippi State. 6.5 points is the spread on this one. The over-under is 58.5. Look, Mississippi State, it looks like their offense is doing okay. They put 31 on Georgia. Auburn did not manage that much. Arkansas has been a tough out for a lot of people. I think I've gone back and forth on this one. Guys, I think I'm picking Mississippi State here. And I like them to cover. What say you, Dylan? Dylan, you look confused and bewildered. What's going on?
This game sucks in all sense of the word. I'm going to take Arkansas strictly for strategy pick, because if Mississippi State beats Arkansas, then Auburn will be the 16th team in the SEC. So a little bit of a biased pick, and I think Arkansas covers that spread.
Darrell Dapprich, what's going on, man?
Man, this is a tough one. This is the second toughest one on the board that I looked at when I took a peek. I'm going to take Arkansas as well. I think Arkansas just is going to have a little bit enough, offensively to put some points on the board against Mississippi State. Although, as you said, Mississippi State has played tough the last 2 weeks. They gave Georgia a pretty good game. Texas A&M, pretty nice matchup. So I just still think that Mississippi State, like Auburn, a little bit snake bit, has to prove it to me first that they know how to close.
Ike, what you got here?
Yeah, I'm going to pick Arkansas. They're going to play keep away in this game and just not let Mississippi State get the ball as many times as they need to score points. The run game for Arkansas is still strong. I haven't seen Mississippi State play a single game of defense this entire season. So Arkansas, Petrino, well, I'll take them.
Yeah, 6.5 here. Obviously, it's in Starkville, Mississippi. I don't hate those picks at all. So this was kind of a toss up for me. Next game on the list: Oklahoma at Ole Miss. Guys, are Ole Miss, are they frauds?
Yes,
Are they frauds?
absolutely.
Darrell's got a weird look on his face.
I said they were frauds from the beginning of the year. That's
okay.
why this is just coming to fruition. I mean, we've talked about how they act like they're Georgia with a Vanderbilt trophy case, although Vanderbilt's trophy case this year might look a little better. I think that Ole Miss is going to lose 1-2 more games at least. And people are upset in Oxford. This was the year with the 12-team playoff and the schedule looking pretty light. Ole Miss could lose 2 more. However, I don't think they lose this one.
Isaac.
Yeah, Oklahoma's terrible. They're going to get some offensive players back this week, but their offensive line hasn't gotten any better. But yeah, I don't see Oklahoma finding a way to win this game on the road. They're going to start Jackson Arnold again. They've got a new offensive coordinator. They fired the old guy. So I don't know that Ole Miss knows what to prepare for quite yet. Going back to the old quarterback with a new OC. But from a talent perspective of who's healthy in this game, I'm going to have to go with Ole Miss on this one, even though I wouldn't call them frauds because I never believed in them, but a lot of people apparently did. So to the rest of the world, I already knew who was behind the mask. I've been Scooby-Doo this entire time. So,
yeah, I'm with you on this one. Now, I asked the question, were they frauds? Their 2 losses are Kentucky and LSU. Obviously, we all saw the game down in Death Valley. I think this game puts the SEC in an interesting situation. At the beginning of the year, our friend Heather Dinich over ESPN said that she thought 5 SEC teams could make this first 12-team playoff. Guys, I'm not so sure the way it stands right now that 5 are going to make it. And Ole Miss was one of those teams that felt like they were firmly in the 5. But if they lose another game, they're out of there, right? Like, there's no 3-loss Ole Miss team that's making the playoff, is there?
No, and you got to consider, I'm sure that everybody thought Alabama was one of those 5 teams. That's looking shaky. Alabama losing another game. You're not getting in with 3. I didn't have Texas A&M being one, but they could be the other besides Georgia and Texas. 3 perhaps, but you're right. The 5 included Ole Miss and Alabama, and both of them look shaky right now.
Dylan.
And don't sleep on the Vanderbilt Commodores getting the playoffs either. that could still happen.
Yeah, but they're lost to Georgia State.
But they're win to Alabama.
Yeah, they have the best win in the country.
If Vanderbilt gets the playoffs for Auburn does, it might just do it for me. I don't know.
Okay.
But in this game, Oklahoma can't play offense to save their lives. I think Ole Miss bounces back, but not enough to save their season and get back into the playoff conversation. I think Ole Miss wins, but I don't think they cover that 20-point spread.
I came close here to picking Oklahoma, and just for no logical reason other than I just feel like Lane Kiffin is due to lay an egg. They easily would have made the playoffs last year had 12 teams made it. This year, I've just got my questions. It feels like situationally, they just never show up when they absolutely need it, right? Like their defense has not been bad. However, versus LSU, they failed in critical moments. My Alabama friends were calling that the Pete Golding special there at the end. So you give up the big touchdown pass. I'm not sure Oklahoma has enough offense to win this one, but I have a question for you guys before we move on. Is this spread crazy? Is minus 20 crazy?
No,
I think
Oklahoma
so.
hasn't scored any points,
Yeah.
so people just assume that they're going to continue to not score points. Ole Miss hasn't had an issue scoring; they just can't stop people that have legitimate offenses, which Oklahoma has not proven to actually have. So I don't think the spread is crazy. I just don't think that Ole Miss actually covers it.
Darrell.
It looks a little high to me. I mean, obviously Vegas knows. They know it's there for a reason. That seems so much for an SEC matchup. And I guess, like Ike said, Ole Miss can score. So even if Oklahoma was to get lucky and get 17, 20 points on the board, you would think that Ole Miss would be able to double that. I guess that's the thought process. But remember, guys, early on, Oklahoma was getting a lot of love for their defense and how good their defense was. And so that narrative's kind of gone away. It just seems high to me. I mean, I guess when I think
it's high considering the over-under, though. 48.5.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
20-point spread for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Dylan, any thoughts about this spread before we move on?
I think they're giving some credit to Oklahoma's defense. You give some credit to Oklahoma's defense here because, I just don't think that Ole Miss can find a way to win this game by 20. I feel like that's absolutely ridiculous.
Okay,
give them that. Because they're out of the cupcake schedule.
I'm gonna ride with you guys on this one. I'm gonna pick Ole Miss, but with no conviction. I would not be surprised to see Ole Miss inexplicably find a way to lose this game. Our next game on the list is Texas versus Vanderbilt. Who had this circled as a marquee matchup 8 games into the season?
I might be in the minority here.
Okay.
I think that Vanderbilt is getting ranked because of the warm fuzzies and the feel good narrative across the country. I don't believe they deserve to be ranked. They've lost 2 games. They've lost to Georgia State. They lost to Missouri's overranked, and they almost Ball State had them on the road. I don't see where the data proves that they should be ranked. Should they be bowl eligible? Should they be a good story, a feel-good story? Absolutely. I just don't think they're the number 25 team in the country.
Yeah, they're getting an SEC bump for sure on their ranking, and they're getting the Bama bias. Like it's like it's a recruit that signs to Bama. Now all of a sudden they're a 5-star. It's like you beat Bama, you're a top 25 team. Got to be. That's the only reason Bama could have possibly lost to them, right? Because they're one of the 25 best teams in the country.
Well, they weren't ranked when they beat Alabama. They were ranked when they beat Ball State.
No, but I'm saying, that's what caused everybody to be like, oh, wait a minute, Vandy's legit because they beat Bama. Like, Bama's actually good this year. So,
Dylan?
But no, Vanderbilt doesn't win this game. So, it doesn't matter.
I think Texas is going to boat race Vanderbilt. I mean, I think this is going to be ugly.
There might be something in the air for me then. I'm feeling the magic. I'm going to give it to him. I think that Diego Pavia is going to get it done.
This was a Pavia jersey.
It's strictly a meme for me. I have a lot of Alabama fans that I have as students, and that's to mess with them. But yeah, I'm
not mad at it. I would wear it to school, every day over my regular shirt. Just I'd wear it backwards so they have to see it coming too. So,
but yeah, I'm going to take Vanderbilt with the upset here. I think Georgia did nothing spectacular to beat Texas. I mean, they had the same amount of turnovers. I think that Vanderbilt finds ways to get into teams' heads, and they allow themselves to play whatever brand of football they want to play that week.
That's a bold pick there, Dylan. I'd love to be with you on this one. And on this show, on this segment, I've made some absolutely absurd picks, but this is not going to be one of them. I'm going with Texas. Look, I mean, maybe they owe the football god something after they threw water bottles on the field to get a call reversed. But yeah, I think Texas wins. I called for Georgia to beat Texas last week. And I did not get how people were overlooking Georgia as much as they were, because Texas got the schedule that Georgia usually gets. It's been a weak schedule so far. So I'll tell you what, from a playoff perspective, a second loss for Texas would be absolutely devastating. it just I think it puts you in a really, really precarious situation going into the end of the year, especially with what looks like a surging Texas A&M still left on your schedule. The next game that we have here, fellas, is LSU at Texas A&M. I went back and forth about which one of these last two games was the most interesting game of the weekend. But I'm going to start with Ike here. LSU obviously looks pretty good offensively. Nussmeier is making plays. Texas A&M has found something under Mike Elko in year one. It's in College Station. There are clips of Nussmeier saying Kyle Field isn't as loud as people think it is. Like, who you got here? The spread pick them 2.5 is where they have this game right now.
Yeah, this is probably the most difficult game for me to pick just because I don't really know how legitimate Texas A&M's offense is since they've gotten their starting quarterback back. And that's really going to be the thing is because I think Texas A&M's defense is legit. Their defensive line is absolutely terrorizing quarterbacks, and LSU doesn't have the benefit of a mobile quarterback in this one. As much as I think Garrett Nussmeier is good, he doesn't have the ability to escape the way last year they would have had with Jay Daniels, and they've got some absolute dogs that will go and get after your quarterback on that A&M defensive line. It being at home, I think I'm going to take Texas A&M in this game, but golly, I could flip a coin on this and be convinced to go the opposite direction just because I believe Garrett Nussmeier has just got stones, man. He's that, and I'm not overselling how good that throw was to get them to overtime versus Ole Miss. Like, it was an absolute dot that, like, it's a pro level throw. It's a throw that a lot of quarterbacks in college don't have the balls to make. And he made it look easy. And then the throw to beat him in overtime. I like Garrett Nussmeier. I just think that he's going to have a really tough time staying upright in this game. So give me Texas A&M.
I'm gonna say Darrell for last on this one. Dylan, what's good?
I remember back in the day whenever LSU and A&M had that 7 overtime game, and I'm always wondering when's it going to be another one of those like rock fight games that go down to like 10, 12 overtimes now with the new rules. I think this could be the week it happens again. But with it being in College Station, I think A&M has the better defense, and I think LSU does have the edge at quarterback. I think Marcel Reed, would have been a better option for this A&M offense because I think he just played with it better. But yeah, I'm gonna take A&M in this one, and it's gonna go down to the wire.
Darrell,
such a tough one. This was the one I looked at, went back and forth. But Ike makes both guys, Dylan and Ike, make both some of the points I wanted to make. I think that Nussmeier, although he makes the big throws, is not very mobile. Texas A&M has defensive linemen that are getting after it. Think about this, guys. This is the class now that's maturing, that the class that Nick Saban went after Jimbo Fisher about. When Texas A&M had the number 1 class or number 2 class in the country, they are now juniors, and Elko is coaching them up. And I think they're going to just really wreak havoc. And then I also think Texas A&M is going to be able to run the ball pretty effectively on LSU's defense. I mean, they gouged some teams running the ball. I think it's going to be a lot more low scoring than people think, but I see the Kyle Field factor, Texas A&M's defensive front, and being able to run the ball, I think, effectively enough to get some possession and some control clock, puts Texas A&M on top here.
I think I'm going with I do this every week, but I'm going with LSU in this one. I'm jumping on the Nuss bus. Can I be on the Nuss bus? Look, at the end of the day, this LSU defense is definitely markedly better than it was last year. I think that they're finding ways to make plays when they need them. That's still got a ways to go. But offensively, they seem to be able to find plays when they need them as well, too. So, yeah, I'm going with LSU in this one. I think Brian Kelly has something rolling, and I don't like Brian Kelly at all, like not even a little bit, to underscore this. But last week, a couple weeks ago, I felt like they would expose Ole Miss. They hung it. It never really felt like they were out of that game. And so, with all the conversations surrounding Auburn this year, guys, where we're talking about teams finding ways to lose, LSU feels like one of those teams is finding ways to win. And so I'm going with them. I think that this spread is appropriate. I think this is a pick 'em. And I'm not sure that anybody had these two teams right here at this point in the season. Look, there was Georgia, Texas, Alabama were thought to be kind of the cream of the crop coming into this college football season. And now we're sitting here and Georgia's still up there, right? Texas is still up there, but Alabama has left an opening for another team to step into that third contender spot. And I think it's one of these two teams, honestly. So I'm going with LSU. I like every few years, it just feels like they produce something championship-like. If Jaden Daniels had any semblance of a defense last year, I think LSU makes the playoff. Maybe this is the year. You've got 12 teams, though, this time. So we'll see. Let's get into our last game. Again, I told you we went back and forth about which one of these was the most impactful. Well, we saved our brethren up the road for last.
Don't call them that.
Missouri at Alabama in Tuscaloosa. Man. Obviously, we all know what happened with Auburn. Auburn had the game, guys. Missouri's defense is ranked in the top quarter of the conference in terms of total yards allowed. They're pretty stingy. They've been pretty stingy so far this season. But Alabama's offense struggled against Tennessee, only 17 points offensively. If that trend continues, if Missouri can hold Alabama to 17 points, can they pull out the victory? Alabama minus 13.5 sounds crazy to me after what South Carolina did to Alabama in Tuscaloosa.
Well, guys, I'll just say this real quick. That number's going to change because I don't know if you've read the reports or not. Came out in the last hour. Brady Cook doubtful to play.
Complete BS, bro. This man came back from the daggone
emergency. That's going to happen. But in the last hour, half of that game, he's doubtful to play. I think that line's going to move with that news. He's really struggling on that ankle, and
there's no way he doesn't play. If he does not play in this game, dog, I want that win revoked from Missouri's record, bro. Like, that's complete horse manure.
They definitely gave him fentanyl in the.
Oh my gosh, they gave him something.
Yeah,
everything under the sun.
Well, hold on, wait. Time out. So I want to rewind. At our halftime, Ike was like, "Yo, it's a high ankle sprain. There's no way this man is coming back." And when you look at it, to come like in game to come back from a high ankle sprain, he went to the hospital, guys.
Right,
bro. He had to do like irreparable damage to his ankle. If it looked like, I don't know.
He ran. That's
what I'm saying. Like, there's no way, bro. There's no way he's not playing this week, and he did all of that after he came back. This is stupid.
Especially, I've never been to the ER and gotten out within 3 hours, let alone what he did.
He wasn't, statuesque either. He was mobile.
That's what I'm saying. He actually ran for a first down at a crucial moment in the game. He was escaping pressure. I was like, come on, dog.
They either gave him heroin at halftime or Mr. Miyagi was in there rubbing those hands together like Karate Kid, because that guy, he was bouncing on the sidelines up and down.
That junk wasn't real, dog. You can't tell me he better play this game. He better freaking play this game, and he better look completely healthy too.
That's doubtful. Doubtful is crazy after that, right?
I'm gonna give him a low ankle sprain if he comes back out there. If he doesn't go out there,
the fact that he's doubtful,
I'm gonna re-injure
it. It underscores that the injury was actually serious against Auburn. If he's not playing in this one, because they said it was him and who else was it? It was the running back, right? That they said was
Noel.
Yeah.
Come on, man. All right.
Well, that's got to be adrenaline and drugs. I'm just being honest. That's adrenaline and drugs, and when that wears off, he's doubtful.
Yeah. Given how their offense
they
looked,
better shoot him with some adrenaline and some more drugs. He better play this game versus Alabama.
Just keep the party going.
He's not ruining our season and then not playing versus Bama, so they get freaking Drew Pine for 4 quarters. No, sir, that's not happening. Fam.
You guys are going nuts in the live comments right now. Look, Alabama's season is teetering in Kalen DeBoer's first year. Hear me out. I know they're 5-2, but a third loss before November literally would be unprecedented since Nick Saban was the coach. Like, Now, this is the first year since 2007 that they've had 2 losses before November, but 3? Darrell, I'll take you back to SEC Media that you and I sat in a room with Kalen DeBoer, and I asked him, I was like, hey, man, bro, what's your plan for facing these SEC defenses? And he gave us kind of a flippant answer about, what kind of, we've done what we've done offensively, and it's going to work.
You ain't playing Oregon State, bro.
That's all. Man. And
listen, the fact of the matter is he doesn't have a quarterback. Listen, I think Jalen Milroe is super talented. He doesn't fit this system, and they've struggled to figure out, unlike what they did last year, how to find a way to utilize what he does well consistently.
Yeah,
they've gone back to what works for them in their system, and Jalen Milroe's not it. He just isn't. He doesn't have the anticipation. He doesn't have the ability to read defenses. He doesn't have the accuracy on the intermediate throws. He doesn't have any of the stuff that makes the offense that Kalen DeBoer has been running his entire life work well. And that's why Alabama's offense looks like crap in a bag for vast majorities of games, other than when he's throwing prayers up to Ryan Williams.
Did they make this spread assuming that Brady Cook was going to play?
Yes.
13.5 seems steep.
They had to have.
Yeah, with a healthy Brady Cook. I don't understand. Some of these spreads that Vegas is putting out feel like bait. I don't know what to say about 13.5. Now, without him, yes, okay, I'll roll with it. But his backup, what was the guy's name?
Drew Pine.
Yeah,
he was horrible.
Notre Dame legend.
Yeah, they weren't scoring on Auburn if he stayed in the game.
No,
I mean, you just felt
Auburn
like
wins that game going away with Drew Pine as the quarterback.
I think what's interesting about this game, guys, is it's the second in a row that we've talked about that I would consider an elimination game. From the LSU Texas A&M game is an elimination game. Loser, I don't think gets in with 2 losses if you're Texas A&M and LSU. If you're Alabama and you have 2 losses, you get in. It's just because, like you said, that Bama bump. The loser of this game, done in the college football playoff. Missouri, unfortunately, would be their second loss, but I don't think they get in with 2 losses. Alabama could get in with 2 losses, but they're not getting in with 3. So the LSU Texas A&M game and this game is when you start separating, sifting the wheat, as they say. It's an elimination game.
Yeah, I would. Over on the other channel where I got to talk about Big 12 football, the question was asked, could the Big 12 get 3 teams in? And when you look at Iowa State and BYU, where they're sitting right now, the other teams I feel like they could get in, one of them is Colorado, sitting with 2 losses. If they win out, who they have left on their schedule. Now, how does Colorado get in? It's this right here. It's exactly what's happening in the SEC. They're leaving the door open for the Big 12 to get a 3rd team in. And I think the committee, from a rating standpoint, would love to have Deion Sanders in this first.
Yeah, there is no way a 2-loss Colorado team, the committee doesn't put Deion Sanders in the college. It's too good of a story nationally for everyone to cover. And these other things would have to happen. But I still think, that's a great point.
And Colorado doesn't play Iowa State or BYU down the stretch. So those 2 could play for the Big 12 championship. If you're Colorado, you win out and you don't have to risk another loss. So you don't have to get to the Big 12 championship to get that 3rd loss on your schedule and maybe even hurt yourself. Maybe a little bit of a blessing for them. The SEC is leaving the door open here. And Darrell, I think is a great point. This does feel like an elimination game for one of these teams. Let's make our picks, guys, before we get to the break. If Brady Cook really isn't playing, I'm hard-pressed not to pick Alabama, but I really want to pick Missouri based on what's happening with Alabama and Kalen DeBoer. I'm gonna pick Alabama, much to my chagrin. Oh, and I picked against them last week, and they delivered. They lost to Tennessee, but no Brady Cook. Pine looked so bad. I don't know. I just don't know. I don't think so.
Can I make a hate pick and a wild pick in the same?
Yeah. Go ahead. Explain yourself, Dylan.
I mean, the thing is, Bama's defense isn't Auburn's defense. Record says one thing, but Auburn does have a better defense than Alabama does. If Brady Cook plays, I feel more confident in Missouri being able to get the upset here. But this is strictly hate, no logic involved. Just putting it out there already. I picked Alabama enough this season. But this game comes down to what shirt is Kalen DeBoer wearing on the sideline, if you're an Alabama fan. Is he wearing a polo shirt? Is he wearing a full-on suit? Is he wearing a T-shirt that he got from Dollar General's?
They were really mad about that T-shirt.
I love it. But you know what? Bama's on the decline, and I'm here dressed for their funeral. Give me Missouri.
Give me Missouri? Okay, all right. Yeah, that's bold. I don't know how you're doing that if Brady Cook isn't playing. Darrell, what do you got here?
Even if Cook plays, I think he's going to be limited. And I do feel like Alabama's got some still untapped talent along the defensive line that if he's not mobile, it's going to hurt him. I also think in Tuscaloosa, could make a difference. And do we really think – look, I think Alabama loses another game before the year's over. I just don't see them losing 3 of 4 and back-to-back. And I'm not sold on Missouri. I thought Missouri was overrated. I thought Auburn was going to beat Missouri. I felt very confident about that. They should have beat Missouri. So I just think Alabama at home will get it done against Missouri.
Yeah, I hear you. Look, I picked Missouri last week, but not because I felt like they were extremely more talented than Auburn. There's something deeper going on with Auburn in terms of system and culture and play call. That's why I picked Missouri. But Ike, what do you got here, man? Missouri, Alabama. Darrell saying that he feels like even if Cook plays, the drugs will not be as strong as last week.
Yeah, I mean, Missouri doesn't have a prayer if Cook doesn't play. But if Brady Cook plays, I actually think Missouri wins this game. Just because when you look at the teams that beat Bama so far this season, you look at Tennessee, you look at Vanderbilt, basically they're able to win with their ability to run the football. And that's what Missouri wants to be able to do. Now, Auburn's defensive line was able to limit their ability to run consistently enough to really get into their offense. Then you had a long stretch with Brady Cook not in there. Bama has struggled to stop teams that are committed to run. They just have. They're just not assignment sound. You go back and look at that Vanderbilt game when they're running all of this, triple option looking stuff. They're just not assignment sound. And you have to be, your gap integrity's got to be there against the stretch zone that Missouri wants to run. If Brady Cook is able to play, Missouri wins this football game. But if he doesn't, they just don't have a shot because they don't have anything else. Drew Pine might as well just they might as well line a running back up out there as the quarterback because he is completely useless as a quarterback. Sorry, I don't mean to disrespect that young man like that, but he's not good. Like I don't know. Like he wasn't good previous to being at Missouri. He's not good at Missouri. Him changing jerseys doesn't change the fact that he's not a good quarterback. So, I mean, I have to hedge on this and say if Brady Cook plays, I think they win. Because if he plays, he's healthy enough to do all the stuff they need to see from him. But otherwise, yeah, they don't have a shot.
Anybody got Alabama covering the spread here?
No.
I think it's going to change.
Doesn't play.
Yeah, it's going to change. I think it moves, right? If Brady Cook doesn't play, it may. I mean, I don't know. This is
going back to something you said earlier, though. Look at the rankings for these two teams. Missouri is 6-1, and they're ranked 21st. Bama is 5-2, ranked 15th. And then we just talked about this Vanderbilt team that's only got 2 losses that beat Bama is ranked 25th. Like rankings don't make sense.
And there's a common opponent,
right?
Vanderbilt lost to Missouri, but beat Alabama.
Yeah, in overtime.
Yeah,
in overtime.
So Georgia State should be ranked.
No,
Georgia State
rank the Panthers.
Look at this. Again, this is a fascinating game to me. We went back and forth over which one of these may tell the tale of the SEC more. But certainly we'll have eyes on this one. It kicks off at 2:30 p.m. Central on ABC. So we'll keep an eye on this one. Whew, man, a lot going on there, guys. Look, we're going to get to the break, but before we do, guys, share this video using @TheWarReport and hashtag Get Your Weight Up on your socials so people can find us and we trend there. Also, hit like and subscribe on the YouTube channel. We appreciate everybody for doing that. We're going to get to the break here. When we come back, we're going to get to more of your comments, and then we're going to talk about Auburn at Kentucky.
This edition of The War Report is brought to you by our generous sponsors. The Opelika Rage Room in Opelika, Alabama. The Rage Room is a place where anger and stress find their ultimate release. Call or text 334-777-6688 to set up a session today, or check them out online at opalikearageroom.com. Golden's Cast Iron. Whether you work out, grill out, or chill out, you deserve the best life possible, and Golden's Cast Iron is here to provide the tools to help you do it. Check them out at goldenscastiron.com.
Guys, you already know the deal. Hit that join button. Join one of the greatest Auburn communities online right now. Be a member of the Green Name Gang. If you're in the chat, see the comments flying and you don't have a green name, you need to get yourself one by hitting that join button. $5.99 a month will get you there. These are like micro sponsorships. If you like the work that we're doing, the live interviews, Ike is traveling a lot of the games. I think he's going to be at Cameron Indoor for Duke versus Auburn. Can't wait for that one. It's going to be amazing. But you can help him get there and get back by hitting that join button. Also, you can give the gift of the War Report. I saw a few memberships given away already. We appreciate our community for doing that. This segment is brought to you in part by our friends over at Manscaped. Hey, everyone. Manscaped, the global leader in men's lifestyle and grooming. Every man knows the unbeatable feeling of a fresh barbershop shave. Now, what if I told you that you no longer have to wait weeks or even months between appointments to experience it? Introducing Manscaped's new innovation, the Chairman Pro Electric Foil Shaver, the game-changing tool that brings the luxury of a professional shave right into your home. Whether you're after the daily silky smooth finish or prefer to maintain a rugged 5 o'clock shadow, the Chairman Pro Electric Shaver is your go-to for precision style every single time. Head over to manscaped.com and join the 11 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped by using code RAPPORT for 20% off plus free shipping. Also, I want to thank our friends over at the Rogue Shop, rogueshop.com. Use code RAPPORT to get 15% off your Rogue Shop order. Pain, sleep, stress, anxiety, whatever ails you in life, the Rogue Shop has you covered. And if you're hungry after a little bit of Rogue Shop, head on over to our friends at Vintage 2298 Restaurant and Butcher Shop. Our friend Randall Baldwin is cooking up all the good eats that and no joke, guys, this is the best restaurant in Auburn. Darrell, I don't know if you've been, Dylan, but I don't know if you've been, but Vintage is fantastic. They cater our firesides. The first time I've ever tried elk was via our friends over at Vintage. So please visit them over there by the mall and across from Ace Hardware. Now, on to the game of the weekend. Our game of the weekend. Auburn visit Lexington. And this matchup, the 3-4 Kentucky Wildcats invite the Auburn Tigers 2-5 to Kroger Field. Game kicks off at 6:45 p.m. Central on the SEC Network. The line for this is 2.5. Vegas thinks this is a pick 'em, right? I think that's in large part to that Auburn defense. We'll get to that in a second. Over under 42.5 points. Look, the FPI favors Kentucky slightly, so they're following the Vegas odds on this one. Auburn leads the series 27-6-1. The last time they played was during the COVID-shortened season. Auburn won that one 29-13 on the Plains. Guys, we all knew that this was going to be a tough road stretch for Auburn when the season began. Georgia, right? Missouri, Kentucky. They didn't play a home game so far this month. So this will end it. I don't think anybody saw Auburn here, though, given how they performed at home in the first 5 games. Keys to the game here, like, you know, all the talk is about the offense, which is where I want to start. Payton Thorne, I don't think there's anything that can be said about Payton Thorne that hasn't been said already. So, like, yeah, I don't like the idea of being down on him. But the question was asked earlier about how you get Cam Coleman more involved. Darrell, I know you and Zach had a conversation about how few targets he's had inside 10 yards so far this season. You know, can Hugh Freeze get his young receivers involved in this one enough to score put some points on the board?
They're going to have to. Kentucky is very, very good against the run. I mean, they're elite, top 3 in the conference. Their defensive line is stout. I don't see a pathway or a scenario where Jarquez Hunter, you know, has a lot of yards. Obviously, Auburn's going to have to still run the ball to keep Kentucky, you know, honest. But this is a game. This is what I've said all along. Everybody wants to come back, getting camps, and say, hey, Payton Thorne played better. He didn't lose that game for Auburn. If that's the bar or that's the expectation that at Auburn we're starting to set, how about going out and winning a game? And this may be the game he has to do it. He's going to have to make plays. Cam Coleman's going to have to make plays. People want to talk about the Cam Coleman limited targets. Is it scheme? Is it play calling? Is it the fact that Payton Thorne doesn't spread the ball around? I don't know. Then call more plays. Call something that's 3 yards downfield, 5-yard hitches, 5-yard slants, bubble screens. I know people hate bubble screens. I want the ball in Cam Coleman's hands. He almost beat Ryan Williams in a race. People don't realize how fast he is. Auburn seems to be sold on the fact that the only way to get Cam Coleman the ball is 20 yards downfield or further. I'd like to see them mix it up a little bit, run some drag routes, some things underneath, get him the ball. They're going to have to. Thorne's going to have a good game, throw for over 200, 225 yards. I feel like for Auburn have a chance to win because I think the running game's not going to be there.
Ike, is what Darrell talking? I mean, again, you've done a ton of film reviews on this. Is what Darrell's talking about? Is that play calling or is that just vision and decision making from the quarterback position?
It's mostly the routes they're asking him to run. Now, whether the reason for those routes is about him and his knowledge of the playbook, ability to run the route tree, I don't know the answer to, but they're not being very. I know those routes are in there because they're asking Keandre Lambert-Smith to run them, right? So it's not as if the routes don't exist. They're just not asking Cam Coleman to run those routes. And so why that is, I don't have the answer to that. But you did see a lot of guys moving around to different positions in the offense versus Missouri, as far as like Lambert-Smith was lined up in the slot a little bit in the last game. They had Robert Lewis on the outside, right? Like there's just, they're moving guys around and trying to figure out what works. But for Cam Coleman himself, I just don't know that that he's been asked to do more. And so that's the reason why he's only gotten, stop and go routes, go balls, fade routes. Like that's really all that he's being asked to do. But what the reasoning for that is, I don't know. I will say, though, some of it does have to do with the opportunities just haven't been there because quarterback's locked in before the snap. He's like, I'm going here with the ball. And it's like, and that's worked to Cam Coleman's detriment sometimes, right? Like, I'm just going to throw the ball to Cam on this one. It's like, well, Cam's not open. So, like, throw it to somebody else who actually is. So it's a mix of a bunch of stuff of what he's being asked to do and then the quarterback's ability to kind of decipher post-snap what's happening.
Hugh Freeze, Dylan, he alluded to the fact that there were some opportunities for Cam maybe on some shorter routes, but he's saying that he's not running the routes correctly. This seems to be kind of like a common theme. We heard this about Malcolm Simmons earlier in the season. Malcolm's not running routes correctly, and that's why he's not playing more, or system knowledge. Seems to be a lot of guys who aren't picking things up early enough to get significantly more playing time or get more targets. What do you make of Freeze saying that this top 5 player in all of high school football isn't running routes correctly, and that's why he's not getting more opportunities?
It's a difficult system to pick up, though. Like, it's not. The system is a lot of being able to read what the defense is giving you and run to the right spots. So it's not just, hey, this is your route on this play. It's like, well, you adjust that route based upon this coverage in this way, and you and the quarterback have to see the same thing. So, but to the point you just made about Malcolm Simmons, he found ways to get Malcolm Simmons the ball, though. Like, he was like, all right, you're not running the routes right, but we can do this to put the ball in your hands, which is like, we'll just throw you a little quick screen on the outside. We'll run you in motion and we'll do a little pop pass. Like, we're going to figure out ways to put the ball in your hands. They need to do that more than just with Malcolm Simmons.
Yeah.
Well, is Cam going to be the receiver you asked for, like on a screen pass or a jet touch or anything like that? I don't think that's his forte, but I would like to see more of when Auburn gets inside the 20. I mean, it's no secret that Auburn can't score. They can score everywhere, but inside the 20 yards.
Awful. Yeah,
exactly. And I mean, I look at that fade route to the back of the end zone that was dropped by Robert Lewis. And I know Freeze has been talking about how apologetic Robert is about missing that pass, but I look at that and I mean, I remember and it still pains me to this day, that fade route to Kobe Hudson in the Penn State whiteout game a few years back. And I sit there and I'm just remiss by the fact, why are you throwing a fade route to a guy under 6 foot? And I look back at the game and it was a perfect pass, but I can't look at that and think that a guy like Cam Coleman wouldn't just catch that over the receiver target or over the corner and actually got a touchdown there, or like a Malcolm Simmons there. But I just ultimately, I don't think they're asking Cam to make those routes. I haven't seen Cam run into the middle of the field on anything.
Oh, Darrell, is there something there? Like, in critical moments are the wrong guys being targeted? Like, why does it seem like the guys who can't make plays are always the ones being asked to make catches in critical moments?
Ike broke the code, if people were listening 5 minutes ago. What we just talked about on that play is exactly defines Auburn's season and how things are completely flipped and just can't catch a break. I believe when Ike said Robert Lewis lined up some outside and KLS was in the slot, what if you flip that on that fade route? What happens? KLS catches the ball and Auburn wins the game. That is, in a nutshell, Auburn's personnel decisions. And, it's I mean, I get it. I get the whole Cam Coleman's down the field, stretch the field kind of guy. But I guess the question I would have when we talk about Hugh Freeze was very pointed in saying in practice, these freshman receivers are running the routes precisely and correctly. But when it gets in games, Freeze's words were, when the bullets start flying, they cut their routes off short. They don't get the right reads. Well, why is Jeremiah Smith for Ryan Day, who has a complex offense, being able to figure it out? Why is Ryan Williams in Kalen DeBoer's offense, other than doing jump shots on quarterback sneaks, being able to figure it out? If Williams and Smith can do it at those places under offensive-minded coaches, I would think that Cam Coleman could as well. And some of the decisions about when they decide to do it, I mean, like I said, I cracked the code. Lewis is a slot guy. You look for him between the hashes in the goal line to throw, and you get Cam Coleman or KLS get the fade. They flipped it. And because of that, poor kid dropped the ball. I get it, but I don't think Cam Coleman or KLS drops that pass. That's in a nutshell of Auburn season.
I also don't think Perry Thompson drops that pass.
Yeah,
but he's the one that's been, guys, to be honest with you, and you guys know this, I'm not telling you anything you don't know. He's been the one that struggled the most picking up the route tree, because in high school he was so much bigger, faster, and stronger than everybody. His routes were just a lot of go patterns, and he would out-muscle people on one-on-one balls. It's a lot more complex, and I think he was struggling to pick it up. But then you know what? It's the coaching staff's job to say, okay, let me find something that he's comfortable with and throw him the ball.
That's the thing that I think frustrates me so much about Auburn's offensive play calling. And Coach Freeze actually talked about this a little bit when it comes to the defensive line, right? Like, you've got guys that can be sub-package guys. Again, they're doing it with Malcolm Simmons, which is, this play is designed to either go to Malcolm or he's the decoy on this. Great. If you're down here in the red zone and Perry Thompson can't run nothing but a fade route, great. It's the perfect time. Put him in the game, and I don't care if they know what's coming. Make them stop it.
Yeah.
Put him in the game and let him go up there and be the guy that makes that, because that doesn't require him to know anything but get to the freaking back of the end zone and go catch the dang football.
Amen.
He does that extremely well.
Yeah.
Give him opportunities in those spaces. He already burned his red shirt. Why not?
Yeah. I want to get to the defensive side of the ball. But before we continue the conversation, let's get to some comments here. You guys have been great here in the comments. Fire Freeze. Tell us how you really feel with that screen name. Gifted 10 War Report memberships. So thank you for that. We appreciate you for doing that. The guy who draws what he likes says it's time to let the talent play. Experience from older players has led to nothing positive from QB to wide receiver. It's time to pivot. Ike, I want to go back to you on this one, right? Talent over experience at this point?
I mean, if the talent is ready and put in the right position to do the stuff that they need to do, absolutely. Like, I understand having experienced guys in there if you're running this super complex system and you need them to be in the right place at the right time. But if you're going to dumb it down and we're just going to, hey, this is the route, go run it, then absolutely go put more talented guys in there and make the other teams with inferior talent. Like, we've got some teams on the schedule that, from a defensive standpoint, they've got some inferiority in the defensive backfield line, but make them go defend it. All right, cool. We've got better athletes than you. Let's just go win it.
Yeah, that's kind of how I felt about that pass to Robert Lewis. Was that route so complicated that there wasn't anybody who could go in there and run that particular route to the back of the end zone and just catch the ball? Yeah, like, it just.
But I mean, that's the crazy thing about that. Like, you just don't expect Robert Lewis to drop that way. Like, it's
right through his hands.
It's a freaking layup, man.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, Darrell alluded to the fact, or maybe it was you that alluded to the fact that he sent out a text message to his team completely broken up about that. And look, I appreciate that, but the after effect apologies aren't going to win you the game. You got to go out and you got to catch the ball. There are guys sitting on the bench just chomping at the bit to have the opportunity to be in that position. He transferred in, and that's why you bring him here, is an experienced older guy who will make the simple play when it was time. I know we beat down on Payton a lot, but he made the throw that could have won the game if that catch is made, period. That's full stop. Haley Davies gives away 5 War Report memberships. We appreciate that. Anthony Long with the $49 super chat. We appreciate this, brother. Coach Hugh Freeze's loyalty to Payton Thorne is problematic for the future. Payton Thorne is playing because Coach Hugh Freeze said he could win, but he's lost every conference game. Hank Brown needs playing time now for next year, and if he's the backup next year, a backup with SEC experience is valuable. Guys, what do you think about Hank Brown? I felt strongly they sent a message that Hank Brown is probably not the future. Is there a scenario where Hank Brown is the starting quarterback in 2025?
I
depends on what they do in the portal. I mean, if it's Hank Brown versus a true freshman and a redshirt freshman and Walker White, then
maybe.
Yeah, he's got a shot at it because he's going to know the system better. He's going to be the only one with actual playing time. And maybe another year of him understanding that, plus some, camaraderie he's built with receivers and all that stuff. He's got a shot at it. But if they go to the portal, then Hank Brown's done.
Agree. And I think they're going to the portal. I think there is no way on God's green earth after the last year when he sat tight and rode with Payton Thorne that 3, 4, 5 quarterbacks aren't already thought of that they're going to go and pursue pretty heavy. And I think you'll see a portal quarterback at Auburn next year that's immediately going to be a starter. I think they'll say all the right things. They'll say it's an open competition between Hank Brown, Deuce, and Walker White, but I don't think that's the case. And I think you'll see a 1-year fix next year at quarterback from the portal.
Yeah, I think you got to break the bank, right, Dylan? You're not going to the portal to get another Payton Thorne next year. If you're going – like last year, the name was Cam Ward. That was the break the bank name, and a decision was made maybe not to. I don't know that they get Cam Ward even if they did break the bank, but still, they got to get a little bit lucky. Is there going to be a Cam Ward even in the portal this portal season?
I mean, you're looking at how does the Texas quarterback situation pan out? I think Quinn Ewers is going to the NFL, but if he doesn't, I don't think he definitely didn't look draftable against Georgia. So you got to look out for that situation. You got to look at that you're going to be down Holden Garner anyways. Hugh Freeze already announced that he's not going to put Hank Brown as the quarterback for next year because he said that by taking Hank Brown out of the game against Arkansas. If you're not going to let your quarterback go in and fix his mistakes, then you have no plans on letting him have the keys to the car. That is as simple as that. And I mean, you got to look around at anybody that has a talented quarterback in waiting. Texas A&M, I mentioned Marcel Reed earlier. I mean, I think Marcel Reed has played phenomenally, and I thought he should have got the start over Connor Wegman. And that situation over there, I mean, it's you got to spend the money on a guy. If the quarterback is the problem this year, you have to be willing to fix it with the portal and fix it with the X factor quarterback that you chose not to go after. Because Cam Ward is a Heisman candidate. I think he's number 2 right now, or number 2 or 3.
Let's remember too now, Auburn thought and had Riley Leonard all wrapped up.
Yeah,
Riley Leonard was coming to Auburn. It's well documented. He talked to people. He committed verbally, and then parents came back and wanted to renegotiate a little bit. Hugh Freeze got upset with that, moved on. So Riley Leonard was actually the first target before Cam Ward. And I think that, how he would have fit. I will say this. If you go to the portal next year, and I think he will, you better get somebody decidedly better than what you have in your quarterback room.
Absolutely.
Right, you can't bring in a Jackson Arnold or somebody that'll compete with the other 3 dudes. You better bring in your starter, that dude that can play at the next level after next year.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think you got to hit a home run if you're going to do it, because you're going to be suddenly in year 3, and the give me time to recruit message is like it's getting weaker by the week, where you're not going to be able to say that you need more time. The time is now when 2025 gets here. Dwayne with the $5 super chat, he says, I think if we stop coaching, okay, yeah, or to
coaching to lose
Coaching
and lay
to
it all
lose.
on the line, you
okay,
may
yeah.
actually win some games.
Thank you for that. Yeah, look, it's pretty clear that they are trying to protect the quarterback, I think, in the play calling. Not a lot over the middle of the field, just but they become decidedly easier to defend there. So I would say, in crunch time, they are doing everything they can to hold on, and the defense is doing a decent job, but it feels like you're asking for a Herculean performance from that side of the ball to win games. Scott, been a member for 5 months. We appreciate that. Are there really 3 people calling plays on offense? That's what Freeze is saying out loud.
Yeah, and I hate that. I think that's the thing. Of the things that I've heard Coach Freeze say, that's the thing I think I despise the absolute most that he said, is that we are collectively, like, I just think I said this plenty of times, like, play calling is such an art. And it doesn't work if you've got 3 different artists on the canvas. Like it just doesn't. Like you need to let one person hold the paintbrush, and they're going to be out there developing this, because it just like, yeah, you can give me input, but one person's calling the plays and making the decisions is how it needs to work. And if you're just like, hey, what do you think on this one? I'm gonna let you call the plays here for the next couple of no, that's not like. And I'm assuming that that's not what it is. They said it's like, oh, well, it's within this thing and such is called. But like, it just needs to be one. And I got to imagine that Coach Freeze, if he's been doing that his entire career, God bless, how has he been successful? Because like, what in the world is that crap?
Yeah, it's certainly not paying dividends on the field. A couple more comments here before we get to the defensive side of the ball. I love that Arkansas is grooming our future DC head coach in waiting. Talking about Travis Williams. Kidding, but you never know. A lot of folks would like to see a homegrown guy. Anthony Long says, when Missouri rushed 3 at the end of the game, they got a couple of sacks. I guess it doesn't work for us. Got Percy Lewis is struggling, guys. I don't even know what to say about that. I think it's been well documented, the problems that they had. So beside going to get a quarterback, you've got to figure something else out on that line as well, too. Now, is DeAndre Carter going to have come along enough? Connor Lew will be a little bit more experienced.
Practice this week.
Hallelujah.
Yeah.
But, I mean, Dylan Wade is gone after this year. Percy Lewis, not that he's playing well, but he's gone after this year. And so Jeremiah Wright is likely out of here after this year, right? So you've got 3 starters along your offensive line that you've got to figure out, particularly the tackle position. Like they just got to figure out who's going to be the guy out there, because that's where they're struggling the most. Got a lot of guys that can rotate on the interior, but that tackle, Tyler Johnson, I guess, just can't stay healthy. Too Tall's been in and out with injury, so the depth just isn't there at the tackle position, and that's really been Auburn's Achilles heel for a while now. This goes back to Gus Malzahn.
I presume that means DeAndre Carter would move to would play left guard, and Wade would move out to left tackle.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's what was happening.
Go ahead, Darrell.
Yeah, I was going to say, you guys realize Jeremiah Wright is a Gus Malzahn recruit signee? I thought he was a Brian Harsin recruit, and I was like, wow, but he is
he was playing defensive line, offensive line.
That's right.
And he got hurt his first year. And couldn't play at all. So he got the medical red shirt. Then he actually had a technical red shirt the next year because he, again, kind of got hurt. But he's out of eligibility.
He's our Hunter Renfrow.
A couple more comments here. Steph Trell, member for 14 months. We appreciate you, Steph. We've given up on Walker. He could be the answer. I'm not sure. Again, the prospect of playing a redshirt freshman now, he's got to make a move. I think he's going to have to make a huge jump between now and after spring to win the starting job. This offense
isn't simple. I don't think people realize that this offense is not easy to pick up, and it takes time to understand where you need to go with the football. And when you hear Walker White, or people talk about Walker White saying he's swimming, it's him understanding the nuances of this offense. And unless Coach Freeze is going to go back into the next season and say, all right, he's my guy, and we're going to dumb this down a little bit for him, it's not going to work. Like
Yeah.
he's going to be a disaster out there, or he's going to be a one read and run quarterback, which doesn't work well.
Last comment here. How much eligibility does KLS have yet? Connor Hall member for 9 months. 0. He's out of here. He's done.
Auburn's first NFL wide receiver in a while. I guess that's been drafted.
Yeah,
I think since Anthony Schwartz was the last one to get drafted.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh wait, did Shedrick get drafted?
No.
Okay, I guess
He's
sure.
signed
I
as
know
a free agent somewhere. Yeah, I think,
he got signed to the Bengals, but I couldn't remember if he ever got drafted or not. Because I know he ran like a 4.2 something, 4.3 something, 40.
On the other side of the ball, it seems like there's development happening over there on DJ Durkin's defense. This is an interesting year in the SEC. Only one team is allowing more than 400 yards per game in conference, and it's Mississippi State. Everyone else is 370 or lower. Auburn is in the middle of the pack, allowing 339 yards per game. To underscore that, the fifth team in the conference is Georgia at 304 yards per game. Only 35 yards separates like 10th from 5th, pretty much. Guys, Durkin, I like the job that he's doing over there. Was it Jay Crawford that just got named like PFF's like player of the week or something like that?
A freshman.
Freshman, yeah. Is SEC, and the PFF's SEC team of the week. He got named to it. I like this defense. I do. It feels like they're struggling to hold on late in games against Kentucky. What do we think? Is this another sub 350 performance from DJ Durkin's defense here, Darrell? Or, what do we expect from them after 7 weeks?
I think so. I think the defense, Kentucky struggles offensively. They're the bottom third total offense in the SEC. They have an immobile quarterback. I keep hearing people push back on that and say Brock Vandagriff is mobile. I mean, he's athletic. Well, he might be athletic, but he's not a dual threat, and he's got sacked 16 times, and he's averaging 1.9 yards a carry. So he's not – he's more of a pocket passer. I think that suits Auburn. Kentucky's offense, not very good. Auburn will not be on the field as long as they were for the Missouri game. Remember, I think that 18-play, 95-yard drive was because those kids were gassed. A lot of plays, especially in the fourth quarter. I think you're going to see a lot of 3-and-outs in this game by both offenses, a lot of punting. And I just don't see Kentucky's offense doing much against Auburn's defense. It's not a very good offense, and Auburn's defense is coming to its own. That combination in itself tells me this game could stay in the teens.
Ike, what do you think? Is this game in the teens? It feels like if Auburn can't hold Kentucky under 21 points, there's no shot of them winning.
Yeah, I mean, if it's not in the teens, I don't know how Auburn wins has as good a defense as Kentucky has. I mean, Vanderbilt found a way to run on this team, so it's not impossible. But Vanderbilt also, I know we don't want to beat up on the quarterback, but they got a gamer at quarterback that was out there doing some really good stuff for them when they like on crucial. And this is how Vandy's been living. They want to live in third and medium, third and short, so the whole playbook is open to them, and they were consistently able to do that. If Auburn can find a way to replicate that and be in third and manageable, and you just need your quarterback to make the right decisions in those moments. But I think you've got to hold them inside the teams, I think, to win the way that this offense is not producing points. And against a Kentucky defense is this good. I don't know how that translates to them scoring more points than they typically have versus Power 4 competition.
Auburn's played more true freshmen on defense, I think, than any team in the country so far this year. Just a ton of freshmen. The future looks pretty bright over there. I hope that this staff stays together long enough for us to see the fruition of what they could be once they get even more high-profile recruits in there and the guys that they have develop another year. Dylan, I'll go to you, man. It feels like the biggest weak spot I've seen on this defense has been at times PI calls down the field. They seem to be struggling to defend the deep ball and get their heads around in key moments.
Yeah, a lot of that's just youth. I know Jay Crawford's had a few, but in coverage he has been pretty lights out. But I think a big thing to look out for this game, another weakness of Auburn's defense has been the nickel corner, whether it be Keontae or JC. They've had instances where they've been kind of iffy in coverage. And when I'm looking at Kentucky's offense, I mean, I've always been on what's the opposite of a bandwagon? The hate train, I guess, of the Brock Vandagriff fandom. Because I know 2 years ago he was like everyone's favorite to transfer to Auburn. I never thought it would have worked. But if you allow him to get the ball down to Dane Key or Barry and Brown, I mean, I think they find ways to do damage against Auburn's defense. But you can't let them get first downs. You can't let it happen. And I'm not going to put a lot of I think when you talk about Jay Crawford, I think also Caleb Harris was on PFF's list. I think he was on there.
He's been balling.
Caleb Harris, Jay Crawford, and
Malik Blockton.
Malik Blockton made the midseason all freshman team.
Yeah.
Yep.
Darrell, you and I were at a practice where we stood next to Malik Blockton in the spring and in the fall, and he just looked like a man from the start. I've been thoroughly impressed with him so far.
Yeah, to give Granger Shook, who was his high school coach in Pike Road, credit, he told me when Malik Blockton signed, he said he's going to play a lot as a freshman. He's going to play a lot of snaps, and people are going to be surprised, and he has. And we were talking about the young corners. I think I was surprised, too, that Kensley Faustin was getting a lot of snaps, in that slot nickel type thing last week. Could he perhaps see more? I've heard, you guys can confirm this or not, but I've heard that Keontae Scott was getting less in practice and that maybe there's an opportunity there for someone else to take some of his snaps. And so we shall see. Look, the defense, you guys had absolutely nailed it. When you look at what some of the freshman talent, even DeMarcus Riddick, who's right now is learning the system, Caleb Harris, how he's played, Jay Crawford, Amaris Williams is getting more snaps. He got 20 or 22 last week. He's going to get more snaps. Yeah, I just think the future is so bright defensively that once Auburn can get out of its way on the offensive side of the ball and just make a play to win a game or not make a play to lose a game, that's what's so frustrating is I get it. The defense gave up a long drive, but my goodness, they were on the field so long. And I would like to see, guys, them start getting a little bit more opportunistic on defense. I want to see the turnover starting to come.
Yeah.
Some strip sacks from McLeod and Crawford, Keyron, and getting some of the, interceptions, something like that. There just hasn't been enough of those to balance the ledger a little bit.
I'm gonna put you on the spot here. Is it time to bench Keontae Scott?
I don't know. I mean, he didn't. He had one of his, and that's difficult to say because I think he's had some pretty bad games this year. But there were some pretty glaring moments in this last game where, like, he doesn't make the tackle on the tight end early. I don't know what that was about. Like, he's typically a sure tackler. Late game, the throw, credit Missouri and Brady Cook made a really good throw, and he's throwing to one of the best wide receivers in the country doing that. It's one-on-one Keontae Scott there in the slot, and he gets beat on 4th and 5. So is it time to bench him? I think the problem with saying, it's time to bench him is he's playing for a reason, right? Like maybe they don't feel confident in some of the younger guys, but if we're talking about playing younger guys on the other side of the ball and just saying go with the more talented guys, maybe, he knows the defense best. Maybe some of the other guys are more talented than he is, and it's time to take a look at that as well. I don't think it'd be disingenuous for you to say it for one player and not say it for the other when clearly he's struggling. Like he hasn't played well this year, and I can look at specific instances and say, what is going on right here? Like, this is a bust in coverage. This is you not making the tackle right here. The 7-yard situation that's on Keontae Scott. Now, he had really good coverage, and freaking Brady Cook threw an absolute dime. Like, he fit that in there between the safety who was coming down and Keontae Scott, who was playing bracket coverage over the top. But still, you're in the frame a little too often for me on big plays and not making the play when he's a playmaker. So I don't know what's happening with him this year. I think it's fair to say, hey, we got to give somebody else an opportunity.
Yeah. Look, the systemic issues that have plagued the offense don't seem to be plaguing the defense the same way. So the conversation feels more simple on that side, right? Like, this guy is just not playing well, and that's why we gave up the big play. On offense, there's a bunch of conversations to be had. On defense, it just feels really simple.
Could that be because the simplification is because there's one decision maker on defense and there's three on offense?
Yeah, I don't know.
The buck stops with one dude. Hugh Freeze leaves DJ Durkin alone. He's the decision maker.
I mean, DJ Durkin's definitely the defensive CEO. I think the only thing that you could say maybe is the rotations, right? Like, who is making decisions about who's in the game at certain points in time? Because honestly, if, again, we're having the Keontae Scott benching conversation. I don't know that I have Keontae Scott in on that fourth down and we're going to a man look where it's like, because he's just not the best cover guy. And you literally have him matched up on one of the best wide receivers in the country. No, I need somebody else. Who are my best four cover guys? They're going out there on the field for this crucial fourth down stop. And so the rotations maybe can get questioned by somebody, but the calls, that's all Durkin. He's deciding what the look is going to be and what we're going to be in for these down and distance situations. And that helps with the continuity. Again, defensive play calling, the same thing. It's art. Like, you just kind of have to have a feel of what people like to do in this scenario. What have they done earlier in the game when they did this? Missouri's defensive coordinator did a really great job in the last game of combating some of the things that Auburn was doing early in the game because he had a look at it earlier. So I don't know, man. Three play callers is just insane.
You guys ever see that show where they stranded a bunch of dudes on an island and they all had like different disciplines, and by the end of the first day they were like, all right, you're the carpenter, you do this, you do that, and they organized and they just let the most competent people do the jobs that they were best at, and one guy was the leader, and by day 2 they caught an alligator and ate it. And then they stranded a different group of people on another island, and they tried to make all the decisions by committee, and somebody almost died by day 2 because they were arguing over how to filter the water. In life, when you have too many decision makers trying to do the same thing, I don't know if there are a ton of examples of that working out. Somebody needs to take the reins. I think that fans feel like that should be Hugh Freeze, because it's his team. He's the offensive guy. And whether, we cover Auburn, but all of us, have a fan, some fan in us. And as a fan, it's frustrating to watch week after week, year after year, Auburn hire offensive coaches and offense be the thing that struggles. Look at Lane Kiffin's teams, right? His offenses are not struggling. They may have situational issues, but every year he finds a damn quarterback. Every year. And Auburn finds a quarterback, it feels like, once every 4 to 5 years. Why is it so hard at a major program with the resources, by the way, that Auburn has? $92 million performance center. A great NIL program. How do you miss this badly at that position? I don't get it. I don't understand it at all. So, I think it's a great point, Ike and Darrell, about, the multiple decision makers on offense, but the singular decision maker on defense, and the result just seems to be a lot better. It's tough, man. It's really tough. Let's take one more comment before we get out of here. I want to thank Dylan and Dap for joining myself and Ike today on this edition of the Midweek Report. Chess Rockwell comes in, member for 44 months. We appreciate this. Is McPherson ready to go this week? Love this question. Guys, in a game in the teens, special teams is going to factor in. And again, we talk about not wanting to beat down on kids, but Magoo is struggling. After Robert Lewis misses that catch, if he hits a field goal, you're in a different position. You're still in a different position at the end of the game, and there's a causality to things. So Auburn maybe plays it different on the last drive. You don't need a touchdown. You're going to get a field goal. Maybe the play calling's different. I want the best for Alex's health. There were reports that he said he could have been useful in the 35-yard range, I think it was. Did I hear that correctly?
Correct.
Yeah, but they're saving him. And right now you're trying to save your season and save your bowl chances. What do you guys think? Is there a chance we get Alex McPherson off the bench this week?
Yes. I think from 35 in, you'll see him kick. He was ready to kick last week, but pre-game warm-ups, he had some stomach issues flare up. My whole point of contention with this, when Ike was talking about what fires him up about something that Freeze says, so you've seen Mizzou already miss a 27-yarder against Oklahoma. McPherson has told you, Coach, if 35 and in, I can kick the field goal. Freeze says that if Auburn would have gotten in that position again, they were using McPherson.
Yeah.
I guess why so reactive? And when the 30-yarder came up the first time, why not use McPherson?
Yeah,
why wait?
This actually underscores the conversation we were having earlier about Hank Brown, right? Like, kickers are known to be more temperamental, I'll use that phrase rather than what most people say about kickers, than quarterbacks, even when it comes to like allowing scenarios of like benching or whatever to get them in their head. And so I think it initially looks like, okay, I don't want to ruin the kid's confidence. We still have complete confidence in you. You're super talented. Let's have you go back out there. This is a makeable kick. I know you can do that. But then on the opposite side, again, you have a quarterback that you didn't do that for. You didn't say, I know you had a rough first half. We still have confidence that you can go out here and run this offense and you can lead us back and you can win this game. I would like to see Coach Freeze be a little bit more consistent in the way that he handles things like that, which I get it. Quarterback is the most vital position, and he's in a tough spot where he feels like this is a winnable game. Let me go back to a guy who I have a little more trust in. But you could just as easily damage the psyche of a young quarterback as you can a young kicker.
Yeah.
And so, I understand wanting to try to put that vote of confidence in Towns, but I also understand the same philosophy of we got to win. And, listen, you're still going to kick the ball, which he's not really doing good on kickoffs either. Like, I don't know what is happening with Towns right now, but he has got the worst case of the yips I've seen a kicker have in a very long time. He's not kicking the ball out of the end zone. He kicked one out of bounds in this last game. He's missing multiple kicks that are very makeable. It's so inexplicable for a guy who seemed like he was automatic to just be like every kick seems to be not doing what it's supposed to do. Yeah,
it's so mental for kickers, right? Like, once it starts to go wrong mentally, I know Auburn has a sports psychologist that they work with. Get that guy in there, man, to talk to him and figure it out, because everything is so close. Like, when you're living in the Murphy's Law that is Auburn's offense right now, those kicks are looming large, those missed kicks. So after the missed pass by Robert Lewis, there was another like crossing route that Sam Jackson was running over the middle. And I don't know that he would have got a first down if he caught it, but it would have put Auburn in field goal range. And after Jackson dropped it, I got upset, and then I thought, well, I don't know if Auburn would have had it. I don't know if Mizzou would have made the kick anyway, given the chance. It would have been a long one. It would have been in like the long 40s, low 50s range, probably, if I remember correctly. But
it was a drive after Lewis dropped it.
Yeah,
because Lewis dropped it, and Mizzou missed the field goal.
It's actually 2 drives later that happened. Yeah.
The
drive before that is the one where he
Fairweather.
He missed Fairweather,
who'd still be running right now, right by your studio, by the way. If he connect, that was about 30 yards at least, guys. I'm serious. I went back and looked at the overview. 30 yards if he hits him in stride on that.
He might have scored. Like, I'm not even joking. He may have scored if he hits him on, because there was
instead of throwing it to Sam Jackson.
No. On the Fairweather one.
Okay,
Fairweather was running wide open on this crossing, on this over route, a deep over. Actually, I think it's a corner route because he was running from the same side of the field. It's a corner route, and he overthrew him. But the only other defender that was to that side of the field, there was one guy who was running with the deep route. I think KLS, he was running with him. And then there was the deep safety to the other side of the field. If he hits Valdo, he gets one block and he's going to score. Like, there's literally no defender in the picture. And he missed him by like 8 yards. It was
overthrew him. Wide
Oh
open.
yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. I'm there with you. It took me a while. I caught up. Thank you for flying Delta. Yeah, there's not a whole lot more that can be said about this offense. The missed opportunities stand out. Obviously, to the original question by the commenter, is McPherson going to be ready to go? I think Auburn fans certainly hopes to. Yeah, if you're Towns, I'm sorry, man. I don't know how you come back from this. I think he blew his chance to be a kicker at Auburn University. Go out. Yeah, just go find a kicker.
I'll never. The Oklahoma game was whenever I was like, okay, maybe Towns isn't it right now. You miss out on 6 points and you lose by 6 points. It kind of hurts your chances, and I think the confidence was already struck after. Which game was it where they put him out there to kick like a 60-yarder?
Arkansas.
What game was it?
It was Arkansas.
I think that was the moment where you really ruin a kid's confidence because you start his career off with a miss.
Yeah.
And then it just goes downhill from there. So is McPherson ready? He says he is. Does he need to be ready? Absolutely, because there have been, at this point, 15 points left off the board. Or math, isn't mathing? Yeah, 15 points. Left off the board off of just missed kicks alone.
Yeah, it's real tough out there. Hugh Freeze has got some things that he needs to solve. The 2-5 Auburn Tigers are going to Lexington to take on Kentucky. I want to thank Dylan and Dap for joining myself and Ike Jones here on the Midweek Report. We're going to get out of here, but before we do, I want to thank our show sponsor, The Rage Room. Check them out in Opelika at 1510 2nd Avenue and in Birmingham at 2616 7th Ave, downtown Birmingham. They got axe throwing there in downtown Birmingham, guys. So please, if you're looking for some fun, they do parties, they do corporate events. They will take care of you there at the Rage Room. Fantastic sponsors. Also, guys, check us out on podcast. Every single podcast platform. We are there bringing you guys lots of great audio-only content, the Auburn Express, Uptempo, College Loop, and Just a Sec. So whether you're on your way to work or at the gym, the War Report has you covered with lots of great Auburn content. We'll be back at you guys tomorrow with even more content. So look out for the drops. And, of course, catch us on game day. We got one of the best game day experiences. We'll all be on to talk with you pregame, postgame, and halftime. Signing off, as always, War Eagle.